How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. Today we're talking about some really creepy places in India. From a wizard that cursed an entire fort to ruin to an allegedly haunted witch's haven. Join us as we take a look at the 10 most haunted places in India. And before we get into it, remember to hit that subscribe button for more creepy content just like this.
The 33rd tunnel of the Shimla-Kalka train line is thought by many to be haunted. The tunnel is old and dark, and some visitors say they've felt very uncomfortable while visiting it. It's as though they're being watched by some unseen force from the shadows of the abyss. Captain Barrog, who was a British engineer in charge of the construction of the shaft in 1898, struggled to manage the project. Due to a variety of problems such as poor management, money and exceeded deadlines, he was unable to finish the build. The construction company back in Britain that was responsible for the rail line ended up fining Captain Barrog for his negligence. In effect, this ruined Barrog's career and left his reputation in tatters, so much so he ended up killing himself out of disgrace. Due to the horrific nature of his death, some say his spirit lingers on in the 33rd tunnel of the Shimla-Kalka train line, destined to haunt the area for all eternity. However, there are reports that the captain's spirit isn't an angry one. Some locals have been seen chatting to thin air as though in conversation with this benevolent ghost. While the captain's lingering spirit may be seen as good, there are tales of slightly more sinister hauntings around the area. Some have witnessed a woman covered in blood, screaming, rushing inside the shaft and then disappearing. When witnesses run to help, there's no evidence of a woman whatsoever. Perhaps it's a sign of a tragic event, a soul that cries out for help, begging for resolution. Just like the previous story, many paranormal events throughout India tell of good spirits that intend to help those in need. One such story follows the wife of a British Army officer, Mary Rebecca, who was near the end of her pregnancy when she suddenly became ill and perished. She was buried in Dagshai Cemetery. As a memorial, Rebecca's husband, British Major George Oswald Weston, created a marble statue of a woman and her baby receiving blessings in the lap of an elf. The pleasant sculpture is thought to bring good luck. Some wives of Indian Army officers believe the marble sculpture brings fertility and good fortune, bestowing all those who visit a healthy baby boy. Next up on the list of top places in India to see paranormal beings, particularly in the north, is the GP block in Meerut in the state of Uttar Pradesh, India. The dilapidated block of buildings are commonly viewed in a reluctant light due to the copious ghost sightings. Many residents have seen visions of maids in red gowns and souls of men drinking inside the block. They say the men sit around a single candle in the shadows of the abandoned building. The strange thing is that none of the bystanders can make out the proper identity of these beings. The alleged ghosts often vanish right as people approach them. Villagers are too frightened to walk the path that trails past these old, overgrown houses. Countless reports have been filed with the police saying that there are trespassers living in the buildings. But every time they've been investigated, there's no evidence at all that people are squatting in the abandoned houses. The Writers' Building is a secretariat building located in West Bengal's capital city of Calcutta. It was the site of a gruesome shootout in 1930, in which 3 Indian patriots gunned down Colonel N.S. Simpson, a notoriously brutal Inspector General for the police. It was a potent political statement aimed at the British government, warning that their rule in India was coming to an end. Legend has it that the Colonel's ghost lingers on in the darkened halls of the Writers' Building. Employees often report horrible shrieks coming from empty rooms. Banging and loud, inexplicable footsteps are almost a common occurrence. Some of the rooms, particularly on the 3rd floor, have interns working here spooked. Every time they enter the stationery supply room, they report feelings of dread wash over them. Nausea and headaches often follow, then a sense of malaise seems to latch onto them for up to several days. Locals consider the building one of the most haunted places in India and often avoid visiting if possible. In 2002, it was reported that a burglar found 3 dead bodies in a house known as Kundanbag in Hyderabad, India. A local newspaper said that the burglar snuck into the two-level house looking for valuables to steal when he discovered 3 corpses in the master bedroom. Terrified by what he had found, the burglar admitted to police about what he had done just so he could alert them about the bodies. Police identified the bodies to be a mother and her 2 daughters who owned the property. Forensic records confirmed the time of death to be about 6 months before the burglar had entered the house. Interestingly enough, the next door neighbours claimed to have seen the mother and her 2 children roaming around the deck and burning torches in the home regularly at midnight, right up to the day the burglar entered the premises. Locals say that the family kept to themselves and rarely ventured outside their property. Neighbours said they saw the 2 young daughters playing with a bottle of blood in their front yard. Others think strange rituals were performed in the house, leading some to speculate that the mother was a witch. Sometime after the incident, 2 men got into a motorbike accident out the front of the property when their headlights inexplicably turned off, causing the crash. They said a very eerie feeling came over them as they noticed the large gate that protects the Kundenberg mansion. The property now sits abandoned and overgrown. Police conduct regular patrols to make sure no one enters the site. Malcha Mahal is an ancient hunting ground built in 1325 by Firuz Shah Tughlaq. During the early 1980s, a bitter legal battle began between Princess Wilayat Mahal, part of the last of the descendants from the noble bloodline of Oud, and the Indian government. The local government seized ownership of Malcha Mahal, but Princess Mahal claimed that she was the rightful owner of the property. After a lengthy 7-year dispute, the princess was finally awarded rightful ownership. This is where things go a little strange. Over the years, the once royal estate had become overgrown and dilapidated. Several of the buildings on the property were all but in crumbling ruin. Trees had grown through roofs and roots had displaced floorboards and tiling. It was hardly fit for a princess and her family. Despite the state of the property, Princess Mahal moved in with her 2 daughters. They lived a secluded existence away from the public eye without modern comforts and no electricity. Little is known about what took place over the subsequent years, but locals believe the princess slowly turned mad. On the 10th of September 1993, Princess Mahal committed suicide at the age of 62 by consuming crushed diamonds. The daughters placed the body of their dead mother upright at the study desk, leaving it there for 10 days. Since the incident, locals have reported strange sightings in and around the property. They say they've seen shadow figures moving around inside the buildings, lights turning on and off, despite the property being completely deserted. One young boy said he saw Princess Mahal standing in the driveway of the estate. She stared at him blankly, turned around, took several steps, then vanished into nothing. Ramoji Film City in Hyderabad, India is an enormous film studio complex spread over 1,666 acres. It's used by dozens of production crews and is considered one of the most haunted places in India. Legend has it that the city is built on an ancient war ground where thousands of soldiers lost their lives. Today, visitors report the sound of marching footsteps and loud battle cries coming from nowhere. The distinct clash of steel swords can often be heard in one of the courtyards of the property. One actress fell into hysteria after she claims to have seen a man standing behind her in the mirror. She said he was wearing traditional attire and was grinning eerily at her. When she screamed, nearby members of the crew rushed in to see the actress trembling on the ground. She said a man was in the room, but after an exhaustive search, no one could be found. Film crews often report inexplicable equipment failure. Stage lights have been known to crash to the ground despite numerous safety checks. Lighting crews say they're worried for their safety. Some have said they've felt strong pushes in the back when working high up in the rafters. An unusual amount of stuntmen have suffered near-fatal wounds while working in the Ramoji Film City. Females particularly seem to experience eerie things while on the property. Some have said they've felt their dresses being ripped off by a mystical energy or have been locked in rooms from the outside. There's even been ancient languages found scrawled on mirrors and walls with no explanation. Tourists now flock to the city in a hope to see or experience something in the realm of the paranormal. The Savoy Hotel in Mussoorie, India is a stunning luxury hotel that is believed to be haunted. In 1911, a mysterious murder case took place on the grounds of the hotel. As it happened, a spiritualist by the name of Francis Garnett Orme was staying at the property with an associate, Ava Mount Stephen, who frequently ran seances to contact the dead. One morning after Mount Stephen left the hotel, Garnett Orme was found dead in her room. No one could explain what had happened. There was no sign of forced entry or struggle, and her door was locked from the inside. The autopsy later revealed she had been poisoned with cyanide. Further still, the doctor that had been assigned to investigate the case mysteriously died of strychnine poisoning, a highly toxic alkaloid that is often seen in assassinations. Mount Stephen was later arrested for suspicion of murder. It's alleged she tampered with Garnett Orme's sodium bicarbonate bottle, adding poison to it. However, she was found not guilty in court. The unsolved murder inspired Agatha Christie's first novel in 1920, The Mysterious Affair at Styles. The legend goes that Rudyard Kipling asked Sir Arthur Conan Doyle to write about the murder. The famous author never looked into the case, but instead suggested it to Agatha Christie. Some historians think that Garnett Orme's spirit now wanders the grounds of the Savoy Hotel looking for her killer. Guests often report strange occurrences around the grounds of the hotel. Objects move on their own, doors slam shut, and running can be heard along the hallways in the middle of the night. The room where the murder took place is notoriously cold. Guests say they have terrible nightmares while sleeping in the room and have a feeling of always being watched. Some people think that Mount Stephen held a seance the night before the murder took place and invoked evil spirits into Garnett Orme's room, possibly causing her death. Jatinga is a small town in Assam, India. It's home to an eerie phenomena where thousands of birds each year commit suicide. Despite significant research by some of India's top ornithologists, the event remains a mystery. On dark, foggy and moonless nights between 6 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. during the monsoon months of September and October, thousands of birds fly to their death. For an unknown reason, they become disturbed and descend upon the villages, slamming into buildings and other structures, dying instantly. Locals believe the birds are commanded by evil spirits, and as such have erected sharp bamboo poles which also contribute to the killing of the flocks of birds. Creepier still, this event only occurs in an area 1500 by 200 meters. Experts have suggested that the birds become disorientated in the fog and are attracted to the lights of the village. However, the event remains largely a mystery, as no one has been able to explain why it happens under such specific conditions each and every year. Before we get to the number one spot and find out what's been voted the most haunted destination in India, remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on channel notifications. That way you'll be up to date with all our latest creepy content. Bangar Fort in Rajasthan is often voted as the most haunted place in India and has become a major tourist destination for those seeking paranormal experiences. The site is considered so haunted and dangerous that the government forbids access from sunset to sunrise. There are actually signs warning tourists not to visit during the night. Legend has it that a powerful wizard by the name of N.K. Sinai became enamored by Princess Ratnavati. He became so obsessed that he decided to employ the use of magic to gain her admiration. But as the princess learned more about his sinister intentions, she commanded his death. Prior to the wizard's demise, he damned the citizens of the fortress to ruin. Shortly after, the fort was invaded by the Mughal Empire. Up to 10,000 people, including the princess, were killed in a bloody and brutal battle. Ever since the curse was placed on the fort, none of the buildings have been able to be restored. Every time a roof is placed on any part of the fort, it mysteriously collapses, often injuring workers. Today, locals believe that the wizard's evil presence can still be felt in the crumbling fort. It's thought that he haunts the halls looking for the spirit of Princess Ratnavati, who is also damned to eternally wander the grounds.
Fresh pants, please. That was a little bit terrifying. Well, that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying our content, hit that upward facing thumb, subscribe if you're new, or leave us a comment down below. We love reading them. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time.